Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Haolonggood release because they are just continuously pumping out figure after figure, and this time we've got ourselves a pair of Baryonyx. Now, they don't come together as one pair. You have to, of course, buy them separate. We've got two boxes, but as you can see, the boxes and the images and everything are all the same, so there's no real big difference, nothing really to check out as far as that goes. The front of the box does have Baryonyx, also the fact that they are 1/35th scale, the Haolonggood logo, and a really nice image again of both figures. And then if we take a look here at the side of the box, we again have a plethora of releases out in the Haolonggood line currently. You can see there are just tons of them, and even more than we have here. So, you've got your choice when it comes to a Haolonggood release. You really do have many different options, and my personal preference, I'd say get them all because they're all amazing. So, let's go ahead, pop this open, and check them out. And here are our Baryonyx, and move that one in a little bit more. I must say, they look really good, like a lot nicer here in hand than I was expecting. A few of the images I had seen online of other people who had acquired these, I thought they looked a little off, specifically in the jaw, because the lower jaw looked a little bit bigger for some reason than I think it should, and it's not focused correctly. I just realized, there we go. But, they look actually a lot nicer here. The jaw doesn't look off at all, if you ask me, when I see it here in person. And the colorations also look really good on both. And, of course, the sculpt as a whole looks really nice. So I'm actually really excited about these. Definitely cannot wait any longer to get a closer look at these again. Straight out of the package, I really need to examine these guys in a nice light and up close. So let's jump to that closer look and check them out from there. So first of all, we have the bluish variant here of our Baryonyx, and if we start up here in the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks really good. We've got quite a bit of variation to the scale detail here from the upper jaw to the lower jaw. Definitely a little bit of difference, much larger scaling it looks like on the lower jaw. We can also see the eye is painted with a really nice blue, something that Haolonggood has been doing quite a bit of, is giving their dinosaurs blue eyes. You can also see the nostrils right here are sculpted out. We have a darker tone here for the face, but as we transition back closer to the eye, you can see we transition to a bluish tone. The lower jaw, for the most part, does have a bluish tone altogether. We, of course, have an articulated jaw, which works really nicely, and you can see the teeth are sculpted pretty nicely. They're all painted pretty nicely as well. Of course, all sculpted individually. I don't see any sloppiness as far as the teeth go, so that's definitely a huge plus. And then if we take a look at the inside of the mouth, if my camera would focus, there we go. You can see the tongue sculpted out in there, and you can also see some really nice fine detail, as well as some nice pinkish tones, or purplish tones actually it looks like. On the inside of the mouth, you can see again the inside of the mouth, and the upper side also looks quite nice. So overall, I would say that is a very nice looking head sculpt, and the mouth is great. You can even see here the skin stretching on the side of the mouth also looks really nice. Again, the nice purplish tone over there, and as we kind of turn it, you can see how the light is reflecting, of course, giving it that realistic kind of saliva-like shine. Up here on the top of the head of our Baryonyx, you can also see we've got a nice crest there, and that's the first spot that we really see some of those orangish tones picking up. As you lead back here into the neck, you can see we've got some ridges running along the top of the dinosaur, some rows of osteoderms running along the side, as well as quite a bit of variation of color, as I can see different variations of blues, as well as some lighter tones kind of creeping in and out of the, coloration there in the neck. You can also see some slight hints of pinks here on the underside, and then a very nice light tone for the underside of the throat. You can see the throat itself is also quite beautifully sculpted, and we have some very nice scale detail down there on the underside of the throat. As we lead up here toward the top, you can see we again have the darker tones meshing with those orangish tones moving along the top of the dinosaur. Moving down a little bit further, you can see both arms are held into the body in a very nice natural position. We've got some nice muscle definition shining here. You can also see the elbow on the back of the arms. We do transition to a darker tone, similar actually to what we see here on the snout. You can see we transition from the eye toward the snout, we go darker. Same thing here for the hands. As we lead down, we transition from the blue to kind of like a grayish tone. Scoots running down the fingers, and again we have some nicely painted claws with a variation of a dark gray or a black, and we also again have that larger claw that you expect to see on a Baryonyx, which looks really good. Moving up here, you can kind of make out the shoulder blade, and as well as that, again, some really nice, really crisp scale detail. Lots of skin wrinkles as you move further down into the stomach, as you lead back here, kind of showing the movement again with the way the skin is reacting with the movement of the leg. You've also got some nice lighter tones, and the transition to that lighter tone of the stomach is incredibly smooth. We continue to have kind of like a nice patterning moving through, where we have like variations of color, like a darker blue and then a lighter blue and a darker blue and then a lighter blue, and then there's like some spotting in between. The coloration is so smooth and so naturalistic as far as the way it's applied. They absolutely knock this out of the park when it comes to the paintwork. As you continue to move along, we still see that orangish tone following along the back. You also see the ridges increasing in size here briefly as we move back from the hip region toward the tail. We still have those osteoderms following along. And then as you move down into the leg, again, the muscle definition looks good in the thigh. We've got the kneecap here in the front of the leg, nice calf muscle in the back, some creasing in the joint of the knee. And then we move down into the foot sculpt. Again, we transition to a darker tone, and actually the coloration looks like a darker gray, but almost with a slight hint of a purplish tone to it. You can see some scoots running down the front of the foot, down into the toes. This foot is obviously walking and, of course, picking up off of the ground. You can see how the toes are leaving the ground. The nails, yet again, are painted really nicely with a nice black. And then we lead back up here into the tail, and as you lead out, you see those ridges running along the back taper off and almost completely disappear. They're now very small, moving along the back of the tail. And then we continue to have that kind of striping, or like not even striping, but patterning moving through. And then as we lead out here into the tail, we actually get this very interesting look, almost like a scoot-like sort of armored, actually kind of crocodilian type of a look, I would say, for the ending of the tail of our Baryonyx, which looks really, really neat. You also have some nice fine detail for the underside as well. You can see a cloaca present back there, and again, some nice lighter tones for the underbelly of the Baryonyx. You've also got some pinkish tones showing up here in the upper part of the throat. And then if we turn the dinosaur around, you can see again the head is leaning toward the dinosaur's right, so you do have a nice turn in the head. It's also kind of looking up slightly, if you can notice that. But as we lead back, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference when it comes to the overall detailing, because of course the turn in the neck isn't that drastic to really cause a huge difference. You can see the arms are held in the same position as we had seen. Again, both arms are pretty much in the same spot, nice natural positioning. You can also see a nice smooth transition here to the lighter tone again in the coloration of the stomach, and again that really cool patterning moving through. Some creasing right in front of the leg. The only big difference over here is the fact that the dinosaur obviously has recently taken a step here. This foot is planted, the other foot is picking up off of the ground. You can see all sorts of skin wrinkles and creases there in the back of the thigh, and you can also see how the muscles are tensing again as the leg is supporting the majority of the weight of the dinosaur. And then we lead back out here into the tail again with that really nice curve. So honestly, this Baryonyx is fantastic. It's actually way nicer than I was expecting it to be. And then we've also got the other paint variant. Now, I don't know which one I prefer, but I really do quite like the darker tones of this one. The sculpt, of course, is going to be the same, but the difference would be in the paint application. Now, you can see, again, mostly just really dark brown and black tones for the face here. Again, we've got those bluish eyes. Open the mouth, you can see, again, we've got the purplish tones for the inside of the mouth. Maybe a slightly different shade compared to what we had seen on the first one, but it looks pretty similar overall. The teeth are all painted again pretty nicely. No real sloppiness that I'm picking up on or anything here in the face of the Baryonyx and in the teeth of the Baryonyx. One thing I will say that I did notice on these is I don't notice actually a dark wash on either of them. Recently, Haolonggood had been applying the dark washes to all of their figures, and now these two for some reason don't have it, and I'm not too sure why, but they still look really nice even without that. But as you move down the course of the neck, you can see similar patterning to what we had seen on the first Baryonyx, but obviously way darker and way different tones of color. We still have that sort of patterning moving through. Again, the lighter tones of the underbelly of the dinosaur. As you move down along the underside, you can see the same thing pretty much right here. And even though the dinosaur primarily has a really dark coloration to it, you can actually see some lighter variations of greens picking up, which are super subtle on the figure. Man, that actually looks really, really good. But we also have that patterning moving down, and again, those kind of spots within, which is pretty much the same style of patterning we had seen on the first one. I would definitely say this would be the female of the group because the coloration is a lot more dull compared to the brighter coloration of the other one, which again, in my opinion, would be the male. And you can see the darker tone runs down along the course of the arms. You can also see the darker tone running down here through the course of the legs as well, and of course patterning down as you move through. There is also a transition, at least when it comes to the feet. I don't notice it so much on the hands, but it might be present. But when it comes to the feet, as you transition down from these darker tones, you actually lead back to that same similar grayish tone that we saw on the feet of the other Baryonyx. This time we can see there is a nice wash present, a nice light wash for the feet to highlight that detail, which I think, again, is a really nice touch. I love when companies do that. But as you lead out into the tail, again, you can actually see some really slight pinkish tones just periodically showing up on this one. But also, again, the darker tones running along the upper side as you lead out. Not really a whole lot of flashiness when it comes to the coloration of this one. And considering, in my opinion, this would be the female, I don't really expect there to be a whole lot of flashiness in the coloration of the Baryonyx, but honestly, I would say this one I think would be my favorite. I actually really, really like the colors of this version. Another thing that's nice to see is the fact that they both stand really well. They seem like they've got some pretty good solid balance to them, but we will take one out of the screen because we need to get a size. So for a length on our Baryonyx, you are looking at right around 10 inches or about 25.5 centimeters. And then for a height, a little over 3¼ actually closing in on 3.5, but not quite as far as the inches go, or about 8.5, almost 9 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Baryonyx. And you can see it's not a massive figure, but still quite decently sized, and pretty much exactly where I think you would expect it to be when it comes to a Baryonyx. Another comparison I do quite often would be a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus next to our Haolonggood Baryonyx. Then we've also got the Safari LTD Tyrannus, which you can see is only slightly smaller than the Baryonyx. And then when it comes to some other Haolonggood releases, we have the Allosaurus, which this Allosaurus is actually kind of reminiscent to this Baryonyx when it comes to the coloration. They have very similar tones, not quite the same, and of course the orangish tones moving along the back. They both actually kind of have that same similar style to them, but you can see the Baryonyx is very similar in size to the Allosaurus, maybe slightly larger. We've also got the Haolonggood Ouranosaurus here next to the Baryonyx, again another very popular Haolonggood release, as well as the Haolonggood Nasutoceratops, again for one more Haolonggood comparison. We also have the Haolonggood Daspletosaurus here for another comparison with our Baryonyx. And then one of the Baryonyx figures that I would say is probably one of the best out there, next to also what I would say is one of the best out there, we have the Haolonggood Baryonyx meeting the Safari LTD version, and you can see they are actually very, very similar in size. So if you do have the, Safari LTD version of the Baryonyx, you'll have a pretty good idea of the size of the Haolonggood version. So in typical Haolonggood fashion, they've absolutely knocked this release out of the park yet again. I'm not going to lie to you guys, Haolonggood came out of nowhere and started just tearing it up when it comes to their prehistoric releases, and they have been relentless since they began. In fact, they have quickly and very easily risen to the top of my favorite companies out there producing dinosaur models, not just because of the frequency of their releases, but the quality is so good. The sculpts are always fantastic. The paint jobs are always fantastic. They look absolutely as natural as it gets. Both of these Baryonyx again look great, and as I already said earlier, I think they look way better in person now that I've actually had a chance to hold them and take a look at them closer and everything in a nice light, and way better than not only on what I had seen from the images that other people had shared, but also I think they look better here in hand. than the prototypes did. Both of the sculpts look great. They're very nicely done, very highly detailed as always. They've got a nice naturalistic kind of walking pose. They look good together as well, so if you get both of them, they again, as always, look like they belong together. I love how Haolonggood always kind of correlates the paint schemes so that they look similar but different tones, and almost always give you that male and female sort of a pair. And we have that again here with this version. We've got that kind of brighter, kind of a bluish version, and of course that one looks really good. Nice flashy colors, definitely making it have that kind of male-like appearance if you ask me. But then you also have the darker tones of the black and brown one, and again that one has such really nice, very subtle areas of like green added to it. They just do such a great job of choosing the colorations for their dinosaurs, and they consistently look so natural, at the same time kind of flashy, and also at the same time again distinctive enough from each other that they're obvious when it comes to a male and female, but still believable enough that you absolutely could look at these and be like, yeah, that definitely looks like it could be the coloration of these dinosaurs. And they're also really nice and smooth when it comes to the paint apps. They're, you know, Haolonggood has probably some of the best paint apps out there when it comes to these type of figures. So yet again, another win if you ask me. 2 definite recommendations from me. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description so you can purchase these in the same place that I did from Lana Time Shop. So make sure you check those links. Go grab both, or at the very least one, but I would recommend both of these Baryonyx, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.